All right, everyone, we are back. Back for episode 26 of Stub Luv Live. And tonight we have on Matt Powers. Matt, he is on Instagram as Powers Autographs. I see Matt's joined. And his website is Power Sports Memorabilia. So once Matt asked to join, we'll get him on. Matt Powers.
Howard, what's up?
What's going on, Matt? How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me all
I
right?
can hear you pretty good.
Cool, man.
I'm really appreciative that you came on. We have a lot of people that follow this show that like to get their tickets signed, like to get other items signed, and they're always talking to us about how they can get that done without there being an issue. So I figured, let me call the guy that I know who is the man to send the stuff in to get it done. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your business and what you do and how people can find you, and then we'll talk a little bit more specifically.
Yeah, so we've been in business since 2008. I've been doing this since 2004. I used to work for another company that did this, so that's kind of how I kind of learned the ropes, I guess you could say. But yeah, we do autograph signing. So we've got, I don't know, maybe 150 or so that we're doing right now. We offer all range of guys, football, baseball, basketball, pretty much every sport. Most guys we've worked with at some point, except Michael Jordan, LeBron James. So you can cross those off your list. That's not happening. But yeah, we just try to make it as easy as possible for not just collectors, but a lot of new people to get stuff signed. That's kind of the issue that we've kind of run into is, you get a lot of new people coming in. How do you explain what you do? And how do you make it a trustful and easy process for them? Because, the ticket market, the sports card market, everything is kind of, I don't want to say blown up, but it's becoming more popular. And people want to get stuff signed and they want to get stuff specialized for themselves. And they're just kind of, they don't even know this process exists. I mean, if you talk to somebody, outside of the ticket market or the sports card market, they're not sure what, autograph signings are. They even existed. So that's kind of what we kind of do is help the new people, but also of course collectors, get their stuff signed.
Yeah, so the one thing I think you brought up, Matt, is the trust. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send you a very valuable item in the ticket world, maybe a little different than the card world. In the ticket world, maybe an irreplaceable item. Maybe there's only one or two or three that we know exist. I'm going to entrust you to take that item, get it from point A to the athlete, have the athlete sign it in the right pen, sign it in the right spot, make it look, great, have it be a well-placed autograph, well-done autograph, doesn't get smudged, doesn't get smeared, and then get it back to me safely. So that's the reason why I think you're so popular in the community is because, and I'm going to knock wood here, most of the time you do that flawlessly.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be mistakes. I mean, and since 2008, we've probably gotten, I don't know, 100,000 autographs, or plus more. So, I mean, we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think 99% of the time, I think we do, a pretty good job. It's a lot to manage. When you do 120 or 130 signings at one time, hey, you've got to make sure that you've got your spreadsheet signed up, that you've got people's, specifications, what they want done. And that's kind of why we maybe do a little bit more than what the average company does, with our submission forms and all this kind of stuff. And it kind of seems overdone, but it's because we want to make sure that we understand exactly what you want done. And, we'll call you and reach out to you if there's clarification and whatnot. But it sounds easy. You send it in, you get it signed, you send it back to you. But there's so much in between logistically wise that I think a lot of people kind of miss. And I think sometime we'll probably share that. We'll probably do a video or something like that at some point, kind of bringing people into the fold.
So the great thing about your business, and I think what you do that differentiates your group from others that do this, are your YouTube videos. Matt, I was blown away. I've seen you and followed you on YouTube a little bit, but I haven't really watched the signing videos. I've watched some of the other things where you've interviewed Patrick Ryan or you've talked to some of the big names in the community, but I didn't watch your videos. And for everyone who's watching, Matt has videos. One is Signature Success, Mastering Item Labeling Autograph Signings. I mean, you're doing a video to show people how to kind of dummy proof this whole process.
Well, it's to help them, and like I understand people don't send all their items to us, like they have other people they work with, and that's totally fine. So it's really to help us, because if people are if we are getting, let's say for example, 50 packages on one day for 15, 20 different signings, and we've got to open it up and we've got to try to understand what you want, and then we've got to go ahead and label it. You can see how, like, over time that's going to add up, and that's going to take away from everything else that we've got to do throughout the day. So also, it's great for people to go ahead and label your stuff. That way you can take a picture of it. Hey, listen, this is how I sent it in. This was my request. And make sure there's no miscommunication on what you want done. Where you say blue Stadler, blue Sharpie, there's a difference to that. So we just want to make sure that we've gone over in abundance on communication with people and make sure that we clearly understand what they're trying to accomplish.
So Matt has like this submission
There you
form,
go.
and this submission form is critical. So besides the YouTube videos, besides him coming on shows like this and telling people what needs to be done, I mean, he has it, to streamline the process and ensure a smooth experience, because that's all anyone wants. That's all you guys want too. You got to follow these steps. Include the submission form. Fill it out completely. This form helps us identify your order and ensures accurate processing. Now, here's the big thing, Matt. Label your item. Label, label, label. It's crucial to label your item clearly with your name, order number, signature location, pen color type, and COA location if you want a COA. You may not even want it on a ticket or a card. If no COA is needed, please mark no COA on here. This ensures that your item is signed correctly, the exact way you want it. And oh, by the way, you have a link to a video to help you label the item so that it's shipped to Powers Autographs, to Power Sports Memorabilia appropriately.
Yeah, I'll admit it is overwhelming. And if you're the first time ever reading that, you're like, like, am I ever going to be able to send this in? Like, this is just crazy, But we most people end up calling us, or they end up talking to Natalie, who's my wife, who works for us too. So she's usually our customer service rep. So, but yeah, it's just the way that we do it. Other people do it differently, but I found that this way works best for us. And I think people process information differently, whether through a video or through forms or through whatever it is. So we try to kind of cover all bases on everything.
I watched your videos today, those two videos. So there was the one that I mentioned, and then there was another one, picking the best pen for autographs. We'll get there in a minute, but these videos are tremendous. I mean, you literally break it down, each individual product, each individual pen, what your recommendations are. I mean, even if you really only get one thing signed, cards, tickets, whatever it might be, it's worth watching because you go through like a detailed tutoring of what people need to do, and it's terrific. So like here's a ticket that I'm getting ready to send to someone who's doing a signing with Matt Stairs. I have, a sticky. It has where I want him to sign it. Probably not enough room there.
Right.
That was another thing you said. I probably should lower that. I don't want him to sign on the sticky or the Post-it. I have here where I want the inscription and what the inscription is.
What you
That's big, right?
Is you could take that note and you could stick it off to the side.
Yeah.
So instead of putting it directly on the ticket, you just flip it and put it off to the side so it sticks. You got a little bit of room in your top loader there. And that way it doesn't actually go right down that spot there.
Okay. Well, maybe that's what I'll do. And then I put what pen I want, And then on the back, I've labeled it with my, name, address, phone number. I don't have an order number, but for you guys, when I send stuff in, I do the order number as well. And I got to tell you, that way it kind of makes it easy for you. If something gets lost or misplaced, you can find it very easily and put it back
Yeah,
together.
so I mean, we do a lot of tickets, of course, but cards, let's say, for example, like we've got a signing coming up with Steve Nash, right? Like people are going to send in 96 Topps Chromes. Like you want to get back your exact item. So that's why it's important that you put your order number on the item. So that way we get you back, because if we're all going to look at 96 Topps Chromes, they're all going to look the same roughly. I mean, the centering is going to be a little bit different, but we want to make sure that we get the exact card back to people, the
Yeah.
exact ticket and all that kind of stuff.
Don't just write
Oh man,
inscription. That was
we see
big.
that all the time.
Just inscription. And then you're like,
Some
well,
guy
what
sent me a
inscription?
Trammell and Whitaker photo, and he's like, put the double play inscription here. And I was like, but it says it says the actual number of double plays they have on a submission form. And so then we have to take that note off. We have to write the actual inscription on there. So
Not good.
but we,
Yeah.
if we just left it alone, the guy would have wrote double play inscription,
Right. Right. The other thing, I was crazy that you put this in a video, but I guess people send you the COAs that they have with their items already. Why are they sending that in to you?
Yeah, sometimes they have multi-sign stuff. For example, they've got a ball or jersey, and they send the authentication with, or if they've cracked the card out of the slab or a ticket out of the slab, they'll include the PSA label with it, I don't know. I don't want to lose anything that you send me that's not necessary for the signing. So, and don't send us stuff like display cases too. We get those all the time with basketballs. Like, there's no point in sending us those. Just put it in a bag and send it. Like, it's going to get cracked at some point. I mean, it's got to ship to me, ship to the signing, back here, back to you. It's like it's just asking for trouble.
I'm shocked people do that, but I guess
You
it's pretty
would be amazed at what. And you know what's funny, Howard? The people that spend the most amount of money with, I swear to God, they probably do the least amount of labeling. It's like they could care less about the items. It's the person that buys the $100 item that literally calls us 10 times, labels everything perfectly, and it's just it's so backwards. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had to call one time, and I got to talk to your wife. She's a pleasure.
Oh man, awesome.
Yeah, clearly the brains behind the operation, Matt.
Yes.
I'm sure.
He's
kind of like my wife.
The brains behind the serenity of the whole business.
I get that. The other thing that's great about you guys is the confirmatory emails. We've got your item. Your item's getting done. Your item's done. Your item's coming back. Because getting the item back and having tracking and shipping it the right way, that's important too.
Well, I put my shoes in the position of, the collectors, and because I do the same thing. Like I send my stuff somewhere else, and it's nice to at least know, hey, listen, we got the stuff, so you don't have to worry about it, especially if you're sending a big ticket item out. It's nerve-wracking for people. I get it. People are sweating it, I mean, if you're sending out, like we got Derek Jeter coming up, people are sending out 3,000 hit stuff or their prized possession Yankee piece. Like, I get it, so that's why we set packages on Saturdays too, so people can get us stuff 6 days a week. But yeah, I just want to over communicate. I don't want to under communicate, because that's going to cause issues on our end with all the questions that Natalie's going to get. So we just try to overdo it and try to do it as automated as possible. So we're not doing as much work and we're not answering a million phone calls. That's why we've got like the signings update page on there where it says, hey, listen, so-and-so's done. It's shipping back here. So-and-so signing here now. So it's just an easy way to follow. And it really saves us a bunch of time, but also saves the collectors a bunch of time too. They don't have to call us. They can find the information on the website.
Yeah, it's terrific. I'm real particular, Matt. And if I'm using you guys and a couple of my other buddies who are particular, that says a whole lot about you. Let's talk a little bit about getting things signed and the athletes actually sitting down and signing some stuff. So people ask me all the time relative to tickets, what do you get your tickets signed with? And I tell them most of the time, especially if it's a ticket stub, I'm using this, fine point blue Statler. And if you look at it, I mean, that's a pretty fine point, but I really like that on my tickets as opposed to, your typical standard blue Sharpie, which potentially isn't going to give you every letter and it's not going to be as defined. What are your thoughts? What have you seen successfully as it relates to getting tickets signed?
I see the comments. I'm a Sharpie guy, man. Listen, I think I like a bigger, bolder autograph, and I have a lot of customers that do tickets, and they're not a fine point stabber. They're medium point stabber people, and the medium stabber I don't mind.
We got the medium.
Yeah,
We got the medium.
that's a little bit thinner than the Sharpie. It's not a bad pen. The fine one. So it depends on the ticket you're getting signed. As you know, tickets are meant to be handled, and they're ripped, right? And so if you've got a very small Joe Montana ticket from 1982 or whatever it is, you might need the thinnest pen possible. And so I think that's where we try to like at least make recommendations to people. Like, yeah, like this ticket that's 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, like we're not gonna be able to do a Sharpie on that. Like it's gonna take up the whole entire ticket. So in that point, like, yeah, a fine point stabber is gonna be a good choice. Or people choose ballpoint pens on tickets like that. I'm not a fan of the ballpoint pen, but some people like those. And I got a guy doing a ticket this weekend for, I forget who it is, Trammell, I think, and he's going a black ballpoint pen, throwing me like a big curveball in that one.
Yeah.
So, but it really just depends. And you know what? That's what's great about collecting is, it's like you can do whatever you want. You can try certain things, and it just really just depends on what you like.
So someone said, Spoiler Card says certain pens will bleed through the ticket a lot on thin tickets, and I agree. Sometimes I've seen, so this is medium Stadler versus a pretty new Sharpie. And as well as I do, Matt, because I used to chase autographs professionally for a long time before I started practicing law, that not every Sharpie is the same. A Sharpie that's been used 100 times to sign 100 autographs, that potentially has signed some jersey numbers and some hats and some other things, may be very worn down as opposed to a fairly new Sharpie that's right out of the box.
Right.
So
it's going to be a thicker pen the more it gets used. The tip just gets worn down. And so, yes. So typically what we like to do is try to do is use fresh pens as we can for every sign, especially on the Sharpies, just because it does give a little bit of a thinner. I mean, if you want a thicker one and you've got room for it, then yeah, you can do an older Sharpie, or you can do a paint pen on that. Obviously, a fine point paint pen is going to be a good option for you there. But there's just so many factors that go into what the actual autograph ends up looking like. What does the pen look like? How much does the athlete push down there? What is the material like? How much space do they have? And it's not just as easy as just like using a fresh pen, you get a great autograph,
Yeah. Yeah. So here are my 2 pet peeves with autograph signings on my tickets. And let me tell you something, Matt. I've done plenty of in-person signings where I've chased people around. I've gone to the shows myself. I'll be at the National in a month or two. I'll be there getting some of my own stuff done, and I'm all over these guys. Matt, it's my belief that this is a business transaction when you are getting something signed and you're paying money like we're paying. So I don't want anyone to say, well, don't tell me I can't sign it here or I have to sign it there. I don't want these athletes telling me. I've paid you. I've given you good money. I want it the way I want it. It's business. I don't want to be your friend. I don't need to shake your hand. I don't need to get a picture. I don't need to jerk your jock. I don't need to do any of those things. I just want my stuff done the way I want it done. And you know what? What peeves me is sometimes even when I'm still being cool with them, but instructing them, I've got my instructions on not to screw it up. Debut, Debut. I get that misspelled every so often, and I just want to kill myself. You too, I know. But sometimes they'll run the autograph off the ticket. I'm sure in cards too. They're running it off the card. And just as well as I do, these big collectors, they don't want that because automatically PSA, even if the autograph is perfect, if it's run off the card or run off the ticket, it's automatically a PSA 9. Any tips on what you can do to prevent that? Or no?
So it depends on the athlete, right? And it depends on kind of what you are requesting. For example, if you've got Dennis Rodman in front of you, good luck with that, right? I mean, Dennis is just going to be Dennis, and getting a 10 auto out of Dennis is tough. Like you're just not going to see that. So, I think being prepared is probably your best thing, like you just talked about, is if you are getting an in-person autograph and you are going there to get your stuff signed, know what are the potential issues here. Is the athlete going to potentially spell this part wrong? And that should be something like you may have like your ticket labeled up or whatever it is, but have a separate thing already labeled up exactly how you want it done. So you make a copy of the ticket and you draw on the ticket exactly what you want done. Because some athletes, just like us, are visual learners. Like they can look at the ticket and they can draw it out exactly what it is and mention to them, hey, listen, please don't go off the edge of the ticket. Like most athletes are pretty cool with that. Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. Won't do that. I think it's just clearly communicating what you want done, but being prepared. Like, what are the 3 things that could go wrong that I don't want to go wrong?
Yeah. So someone said AI is a dice roll too, and Iverson, I mean, his autograph's really rough, and you're not going to be able to.
Worse, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you're not going to be able to talk to Iverson. You're not going to be able to talk to Rodman. Those guys kind of beat to their own drums. You put something on one of your videos or something that I read, and I think it's a pretty good idea. You kind of said, and I don't have a penny sleeve, but you said, take a sleeve and then kind of practice it a little bit or write the autograph out. So I'll write, Howard C. And, maybe, you show yourself placement wise. Okay, I like it here. I like it here. I don't want it here because it's going to be, and you can kind of move it and test it and see where on the ticket or where on the card it's going to look the best. I thought that was a really good recommendation that you gave. I don't do that, but maybe in the future, that'll be something too, to be able to show the athlete, hey, this is exactly how I want it. I want it to look exactly that way, placed in those exact spots. And I guess like you said, because you're doing this on a regular basis, Matt. So you're talking to these guys, you're dealing with these guys. I'm assuming you're instructing them the same way because you appreciate your clients' items.
Yeah. And then I think when we talk to the customers too, like they'll mention like those, whatever the 3 things are that what we know off the top of our head, like don't go off the card of the ticket, and all that kind of stuff. But I think the penny sleeve thing is a great idea for you to kind of get additional color ideas too. So if you aren't a paint pen kind of guy, but it's like, gosh, it's a really dark ticket, I can't do a blue Stadler. Maybe I do a white paint pen here, or maybe I do a silver, or whatever it is you got going on. I think it helps kind of get a visual for you to kind of lay that on top of there and say, okay, yeah, white might actually look pretty good on that.
Let me ask you this, Matt. Do you think, as someone who's sending you guys things, do we need to send, or do you recommend that we send our own pens, or are you equipped enough that you've got everything under the sun minus something really unique?
Someone asked us last week for I forget what the red color was, a Sedona red Stadler, I think was the question. I was like, I looked at Matt, another guy who works for me, I was like, Sedona, what do we got, Pantone colors here? Like, what are we, like an arts and crafts place? I mean, my gosh, but like we have a red Stadler, but listen, if it makes people feel comfortable and they can send the pen, listen, I do the same thing too. Like if I have someone else handling some stuff of mine, I will send pens in, even if I can know that they've got the pens for it. I just want to make sure that because I know how signings they get hectic and pens get moved around. Someone needs to borrow it. And I also like to make sure that they're fresh pens. Like I've tested them myself. I know that they look good. I know there's going to be no issues with there. So I would suggest if you're gung-ho about something like, hey, I've got to have this pen, I would send it in, especially if it's something unique like a shock blue paint pen or something, whatever you need, right? I would definitely send. Now, if it's a blue Sharpie, I mean, you don't need to send that in. We have literally millions of blue Sharpies, right?
Yeah. So the standard stuff you've got, most of the good stuff you've got. I guess the other thing that's my pet peeve relative to tickets, probably would apply to cards as well, is individual athletes that wind up touching the sticky note or the Post-it note while they're doing the signing. Right. And sometimes, Matt, I give them plenty of room, and yet they still touch the sticky note, and it kills me because a lot of times it kind of looks like when you pull it off, that part of the autograph's missing. How do we avoid that?
Yeah, so my favorite is when you've got like a huge item and like the note's all the way at the top, and then they start the autograph right below the note. It's like, wait, bro, you had like 3 more inches below that. You could have just started down there. Again, it just comes down to instruct. Like, for example, like when I was with Larry Bird a couple weeks ago, like Bird doesn't say anything, but he takes instructions very well. And so I like to point for him before every single autograph. here. So he knows where to start. Now, Bird's a professional. He's way better than most guys are. But I think the sticky note thing is just getting it as far out of the way. Most athletes know not to go over their face on cards. So I would just get it out of the way as possible. What we can do also is once we've got a stack of like blue Sharpies that are all going together that they don't have any inscriptions on, we can just take that note off and put it on the back. And that way there's no note on the front. So for example, like Bird doesn't do any inscriptions, so we can just get all of our blue Sharpie stuff together. He cranks that stuff through and there's never going to be an issue like that. But when you've got like Paul Skeens is coming up and you've got like 25 different inscriptions on 50 different cards, and it's just like, then you got to have the note there because you got to make sure that A, he sees what the inscription is, but also B, that it stays with that item and that you know, like, okay, this one gets 2 inscriptions, this one gets 1, this one gets nothing, etc.
Yeah, the other thing that I noticed too, and I tell people to try to avoid this because I've been collecting autographs for a long time, is don't get too cute with the pens, with the colors. The Sedona red, not really what I would be signing with or getting something signed by, but I don't like red Sharpie because, it fades over time. I don't like purple Sharpie. It fades over time. I've seen people, get some wrestling stuff signed like Bret Hart. He's pink. So they're using, certain pink pens, certain things it looks good on, others not so good. The classic blue Sharpie, even black Sharpie, the Stadlers, I think in most cases they're terrific. I don't like the silver Sharpie at all. Not a fan.
Dead.
If I'm going to use silver or white, I'm going to use a Deco or a Prisma or one of them just because it pops more. Any thoughts?
I like the various colors because it makes collecting interesting. It changes it up, and when it actually works, and you're like, oh my god, like that's exactly what I had in my head. Like, it's cool. It makes you excited about the piece again, and I think, yes, long term, great. If all of our stuff stays perfect and the autograph doesn't change over the 50 years, great. You got a 10 autograph. That's cool stuff, right? But I think sometimes you got to change it up. You got to take a little bit of a risk and do something different. And I remember when we first started using like certain paint pens and whatnot, and it's just like, wow, that one sucks. That one's great, man. Let's use that one a lot. And people want their autograph to pop. That's like the new slang, I guess, now, the pop autograph, and it really just depends what your goal is. If your goal is for the autograph to last as long as possible, then yeah, the blue Sharpie is kind of your go-to pen. If you want something that's going to stand out and kind of make you excited about the piece, the pink paint pen with Bret Hart, cool, man, like no problem. What happens to that thing in 15, 20 years? I don't know. I'm not a pen, chemistry expert. Depends how you store it, I mean, as long as you keep it out of sunlight and keep it out of humidity, you might be okay.
Yeah.
But it really just depends on who you are as a collector.
So I'm going to ask you 2 kind of controversial things, and then we'll pump your business and we'll get you out of here. What do you think about the prices of some of the autographs that are being charged now? Not just, tickets, but I mean, some things are getting a little bit crazy.
It's just a money grab, man. I mean, some of these athletes aren't getting paid anymore, right? It's just, some are, but like, listen, I think the industry would do very well to keep the collector at the forefront and to let them know that we are here to serve you. The collector does not have a problem with you making money, with you being in business, with you providing a service, if it's within reason, right? What cracks me up is all these random upcharges on stuff that the athlete's not getting paid anymore for. And I get these contracts are expensive now. Like the dealers have to make their money on stuff. There's a big competition for a lot of these guys, and I totally understand that. But I think if we can get back to some simplicity in the pricing, I mean, every athlete's got 15 different price brackets. They've got different prices for this inscription, different prices. It's overwhelming for me, and I do this for a living. And I know the average collector is probably like, what? He was just $100 last month. Why 150 now? He was signing cards last week. Now he's not signing cards. No tickets. And the whole no ticket thing, right? It just cracks me up because most of the dealers are just keeping that, for themselves, right? Like if they've got an exclusive for a guy, they're not going to let you have tickets because they want to sell those, right? But at the same time, I'm thinking like, well, at least offer it out, right? Make it an astronomical price. I hate when people say we're not signing this, and that just bugs me because it's like, well, at least give them the option. If they don't want to pay the $800 for the signed ticket, fine, that's cool. I get it, but I don't like not having options, and I think that's what irks a lot of collectors is the lack of options sometimes, and we've seen that with kind of, with Fanatics kind of changing their mind on, tickets, yes tickets, cards, no cards, and all that kind of stuff. And they're in a tough spot too because they've got to protect the pack stuff too, right? They want the pack autos to be, very important. They're starting to allow some tickets now again. I mean, just sending some stuff for Eli Manning. So I think they do no inscriptions on tickets, which is still like another weird thing, but I think it'll all change at some point. I think everything is, kind of like this, so
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I get it. I really do. It's way overpriced, a lot of the stuff. But again, a lot of these venues, like you go to the National, like to rent that venue out is astronomical. It is a huge cost. Their payroll for bringing those athletes in is astronomical. So I get it. I really do. I just wish we could make sure that the collectors kind of they get taken care of every now and then, or at least most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of a refreshing response. I think I'm in the same camp as you. So when I was looking at your website a little bit, you have a rewards program. So how do people kind of use that? Talk a little bit about that. I don't know if people know about it.
Yeah, it's free money, man. I mean, the more you buy with us, the more points you get, you can use for money off your next order. I mean, again, I think that's kind of where we want to reward people for doing business with us. Like, yes, you're getting your autograph, you're getting the transaction, like you talked about, all that kind of stuff. But I think people want more perks, right? And like my wife was talking about this. She goes, "Gosh, I get so bummed when my points expire with some company, and they're like her points, they're my points." And it's like, and people like that stuff, I really think that people want more bang for their buck and they want to feel appreciated, right? So, I mean, the points you can use on anything on the website. I mean, everything you buy, it adds up to your account. You like us on Facebook, we give you 500 points, all that kind of stuff, right? So we try to reward people. We try to be different with everything,
Yeah, understood. So for everyone out there, you got to watch the YouTube videos. It's Powers Autographs. The ones I watched beforehand, I thought were terrific. Signature Success. And then I watched Picking the Best Pen for Autographs. But there's a ton of videos that Matt's done. He talks about the fact that if you want to contact him, you do it on Instagram. That's Powers Autographs. If you want to go on his website, it's Powers Sports Memorabilia, and there's 2 S's in there.com.
It's a long one. It's a really long one.
Yeah, it is. You give a phone number. I've used the phone number before. Someone actually picks up. It's either Matt or his wife. Once in a while, they'll even text. I mean, they're very communicative. They respond to emails. Matt, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I tell everyone who collects tickets, who wants to get them signed, if you can't go yourself, use Matt and his company. I think they're terrific.
Right. I appreciate it, Howard. And I always love doing these, man. I always love talking to new people. And, people just want people that they can trust, and they want a fresh face, and they want to talk to people and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. That's no problem. We have like 15 different ways to communicate with us, and everybody's got different ways to communicate. So, but appreciate you having me on, man. Lots of fun.
Yeah. Episode 26 of Stub Luv Live. We're done. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Howard.
Bye-bye.